Well, folks, I got an email the other day about a comedian that is making time around the Shelton, Olympia area, but he travels all around the country with his brand of comedy. He's a comedian and speaker from the capital city of Olympia. Sam Miller on the line. Sam, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm recording here live in beautiful DuPont, Washington.
Beautiful DuPont, Washington. Well, you got to be somewhere, I suppose. But that's actually
Yeah, yeah,
the home of where you do your podcast, which is one of the many
indeed.
ways that people get a chance to hear you, the TARP report. You can find it on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Talk to me and explain a little bit about your comedic journey and how you
Oh,
found your voice.
man. So I've been doing comedy now for over June will be 11 years. And it's been my full-time job for actually June will be 4 years where I've been doing comedy full time. Um, it's I got started, I'm in recovery, and
Okay.
other people in recovery would tell me that I should do it. And then one day I listened to them and I started doing it. And at that point, there was just no going back. Like the minute I started doing comedy, I was just immediately like addicted to it. But unlike my previous addictions, this one makes people happier,
Tell me.
as opposed to putting me in jail and stuff like that.
So, if you're kind of trying to cut your teeth in comedy, a lot of these places are bars and things like
Hmm.
that. So, how were you able to square that difference?
I've never had any issue being in any bars, casinos, nightclubs, even like a regular party. If I have a reason to be there, I'm fine.
Sure.
But if I'm hanging out in this places trying to get like some weird vicarious pleasure, like that's when I gotta look out. And sometimes I feel that and I'm like, oh, like I should leave. Like the minute I start like I pay attention to those vibes, I'm like, oh, like, I probably should have left 5 minutes ago actually.
Right.
And
You just
then I
kind of
get out.
started.
And people understand. And I think, what's funny is I think it has hurt my career a little bit because I don't do like the same amount of networking that other comics do because a lot of these comics get to be great friends, like hanging out after shows, like drinking and stuff. But
Yeah, like
there's
a
also a lot
show and
more
go.
comics. Yeah, there's a lot more comics now that are in recovery because if you look at the statistics and you look at like the trajectory of this profession, so many comics like they die alone in hotel rooms. It's sad, man. Um,
You have a great opportunity to kind of bring to light some of the
amen.
struggles that you have gone through and the stories that you've heard while in recovery. You get a chance to this upcoming weekend do a set at the Correction Center in Shelton.
Yeah,
And that's probably, you're able to show up and leave on your own accord. So that's probably a good
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, this is I think my fifth prison show that I've done. So I've done them all over the Northwest. I'll do more of them. I've done Walla Walla. This is my second time in Shelton. I did OSP, the Oregon State Penitentiary there in Salem, for Lewis and Clark College. They have like an Innocence Project thing. And yeah, I love it. It's not for everybody, but I'm very comfortable. Um, I'm very comfortable in that atmosphere, which doesn't speak well for me as with my history and stuff. I never did prison time, but I did get incarcerated quite a lot when I was younger. So
Tell
I kind
me,
of know the score.
how
So
does it work? Is it another one of these? If you were in a club, we were just talking about the kind of show and go, but do you get a chance to like interact or communicate or talk closer with the inmates or whoever is watching the program, or do they kind of shuffle you in and shuffle you
uh,
out?
that's a great question, man. No one's ever asked me that. I like that. Yeah, I do talk to the inmates. I'm usually in there before the show and after the show. In fact, at the Oregon State Penitentiary, I hung out for about an hour and a half after the show and talked to the inmates. And dude, it's like it's a thing, man. It really clues you in. Like, cause I'm not there to decide who is and isn't worthy and who should be in and who should be out. I'm there to try to increase the joy of those attending. And especially that show actually in Oregon at the Oregon State Penitentiary, that was for the Lifers Club. So those were all guys with life sentences. And so none of them are getting out. And I mean, some of them might if they get exonerated, and some of them do, because especially with DNA evidence and whatnot.
Sure.
But you know, it's Shelton and Walla Walla. It's always inmates that are going to be getting out soon, and I think it's important to make those connections, and also, like I said, to try to bring people joy. You know, like um, I have an opportunity, and I take it every chance I get. So
What are some of the themes in your routine?
um,
I mean, you mentioned recovery and stuff like that, but if for
that's an
like
interesting.
broader audiences, like if you're, well, so
Yeah.
you're going to be doing a big show on the 23rd at Wild Child. It's called The Dead Dad, Dead
Hmm.
Mom, Dead Friend. It's a grief show.
Yeah,
So how
yeah,
like that, and then you're actually filming your next album in March in Astoria. So
yeah. That's awesome. I'm so excited.
how do you kind of what's the other than recovery perhaps or you being a parent, what's the through line that helps you connect with the audience?
I think, like life itself, it's really important that we give ourselves grace and we let ourselves like move into new arenas, and our art should change and reflect that. And that's how my comedy is. Okay. So, like, if you listen to my first album, it's called Round Trip, it's on all the platforms or whatever. Um, Probably like 75% of those jokes are about homelessness and drugs, right? And they're good jokes. Like they're not. I'm not like it's not like niche humor. Everybody laughs at that stuff because even if you haven't been affected by addiction personally, you know somebody who has. You know, like even if you don't have the disease of addiction, you've been affected by the disease of addiction. But what's funny now is over time now, like my act is morphing. I'm talking a lot more about like general mental health stuff now. More jokes about parenting, jokes about being a husband. Honestly, some like dirtier, funnier, like funny stuff. Like I've never been like super dirty, but like I'm getting like dirtier. I guess I don't know how else to say it.
Uh-huh.
Over time because you know all these shows like I'm going to try to make people laugh as hard as I can, but also like the only way I can do that is by talking about stuff that I know about.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of it is. And then, you know what's funny? I still write jokes about drugs and homelessness and stuff because I'm still involved in that world. Like I have lots of friends that are still going through it. And also like that changed who I am. You know what I mean? Like I'll never be there's this saying in recovery I always like, and it's like once you're a pickle, you can never be a cucumber again. You know? And I'm a pickle, you know,
Sure.
I'm a pickle. And a lot of my friends are pickles, and I think pickles are more delicious than cucumbers.
In 2023, you put out the album, number one on iTunes in the comedy charts, top 200
Yeah, yeah,
overall. It's helped launch you to write for Newsweek. You're on Bob and Tom That Morning Show, the
yeah.
International Comedy Competition. So you've really been able to break out of kind of the Northwest market, if you will, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so you've toured all over, and is it the same? Is it the same everywhere you go? The reactions you run into people after the show if you stick around and they go, you I have your joke about blank. I was there. I exactly know what you were talking about."
You know, once again, man, I'm actually this interview has been pretty great, and you're right on again. It's like that's I'm actually really proud of that. That a lot of people they love my comedy not just for the humor and the laughter, but also like people do like the message. At times, it does make me a little uncomfortable. Um, but usually, like I'm very flattered when people get more. There was actually a guy at my show last night, and he messaged me probably like 7 or 8 months ago, and like a lot of my job is social media, and like if somebody sends me a message and it's like weird, then I just don't respond. But
Sure.
I respond to most of my messages,
I know what you're
I
talking
do.
about.
Yeah, like I respond to most of my messages. And I have this all the time where people are like, hey, like, your comedy really helped me get through some hard stuff. And it's like the best. It's like I feel like my comedy is used like off label. You know what I mean? Like there's like I'm working on my blood pressure right now and I have ADHD, right? And there's like this blood pressure medication that actually helps with ADHD. But like it was never my intention to like use my comedy to help people get sober. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like it's just not what I was doing. Like I do comedy for very selfish reasons. Like I love the attention and I love to make people laugh. It makes me feel really good. Like I have like this big endorphin, dopamine, like oh man, it's amazing. But like it's awesome after shows when people come up and they love that, and I love that they love it, and I am proud of it.
It's like they see you. They may be struggling at that moment or have a reminder of a time when they struggled, and then they see you on stage and they see that you've been able to, navigate through your recovery in a successful way. And they're like, you know, I thought, everybody thinks that they're so unique, but everybody's got similar stories. And so seeing you kind of, I guess, come out the other side has got, yeah, it's got to be really reaffirming for many of those folks in the audience.
Oh, it rules, and frankly, like I feel it.
Sure.
There are times when this industry, it goes both ways because being a comedian, as much as I love it, like the business side can be brutal. Um, and for all the things I've had that have gone my way, you wouldn't believe the amount of like heartbreak and like stress that I still have about like, how do I get people to shows? Like, what? Like, that's the thing, is to turn like online and critical success into butts and seats, which actually pays my bills,
Yeah, yeah.
But there's times when like I get a little bit down and then somebody will send me a message where it's like, hey, your comedy helped me deal with this or this. And like, God, it just rules. Like it just rules, that's wonderful.
While you're
Wonderful.
in and continuing through recovery, there's a lot
Hmm.
of talk about, being a support mechanism for others, not in a mentorship way, but, like a sponsor way. So do you lend yourself to either that or to up and comers who feel as though they too can maybe want to try this or dip their toe in, and you can then, they stand on the shoulders of giants, if you will, and you're a
Yeah.
mentor for this type of a thing.
I don't know if mentor is quite the word that I would use. I would rather see myself as more of a bridge to somebody, like to get from, because frankly, like I don't have the time, nor do I think it's fair to people to see me as like a guide or like a mentor per se. Um, but what I am willing to do is to be really honest and open about my recovery and how I do it. And so, like, a lot of times people reach out and be like, oh my God, thank you so much for your comedy, this and that. And then I'll be like, oh, that's very nice of you. And they'll be like, and then I'll get another message and it'll be like, dude, I don't know what to do. My girlfriend, she's doing this and my boss is doing that. And at that point, like, I do have to, like, say, I'm like, hey, like, I want you to take great care of yourself. And then I'll tell them a little bit, personally, I'll tell them about how I got sober and the support structure that I use, and that I will say that it's a really great idea to try to build that up around you. Because at the end of the day, like I'm not a counselor, like I am a comedian. And also like I'm really busy and it's not fair for me to take time away from my own family, and my life that I need to live, and I need to be there for people in my life to help people on the internet. But I mean, there's a boundary there. You know what I mean? Like I can
Yeah.
do it some, and I do sometimes. I do sometimes. But I think a lot of people deal with that between their personal and professional lives, and how that blends. Like it's hard. It's strange. It's very strange becoming a public figure. Like there's things I would have never thought, like the feelings that arise and difficulties that you have to learn how to navigate.
Sam Miller is a comedian from the Olympia area, but he's all around the place. You can find him
Hmm.
online at sammillercomedy.com. He's going to be performing Saturday, a couple of shows. One is at the State Correction Center. So, again, I think if you're in there, that's how you're going to get in there. You're not going to necessarily get in
Yeah,
for
that's a pretty exclusive ticket there
get in for
at
that
the
for this
at the
weekend.
prison.
And there is an event that we'll post the link information for also Saturday at South Puget Sound Community College. But if you are interested to see more of Sam, there's a couple of opportunities. The end of the month in Olympia on the 23rd for a grief show there at Wild Child, or you can take a trek down to Oregon and be part of the album recording. That's again very
Yeah,
cool. So
I'm
that's
very
awesome.
excited about that.
He goes up
Yeah.
to Bellingham. He travels the country, and sammillercomedy.com. You can see the videos, get the links to the podcast, the TARP report, which you're up there just taping now. So that's really cool. And I do some research on my guests. When I talk, I go to the website, I do a little look here and there, but I never quite know where these conversations go. And I really enjoyed talking with you. Maybe it wasn't as
Yeah.
as funny comedy, haha, that we want to like
I
entice
know,
people to
I
show up,
know.
but you know,
Yeah.
I like to
I
hear
am
these stories.
very, yeah, what's funny is I never know either, like where an interview's going to go. And it is sometimes like I'll tell funny stories or whatever. But I'm glad that we talked, and I'm glad that it went the way it was supposed to go. And
Yeah.
what's cool, man, is I think you record out there in Shelton, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Next time I'll come out, we'll do it in studio next time if you want, man. That'd be awesome.
Well, this
So,
studio is my house studio, so there's
oh
and
shit.
that's an
Okay, maybe
Olympia
not.
too.
Oh man, I just did a swear word too.
I'll beep that out. No
Yeah, beep
worries.
that one out.
Sam Miller, it was good to talk with you and check him out online at sammillercomedy.com.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Jeff.